That was a good one. It like gets better every time you do it.
Every time, man. Surprise! Belated birthday present. This dude's been grinding since day one.
Yeah, and it's something like, who are these dipshits?
Exactly. It's like, wait, what?
Welcome, everybody, to the Grind and Gain Show. My name is Andrew Gleason.
I'm Johnny.
Johnny, what's up, man?
Not much, dude. How you doing?
Are you still on diaper rash duty, or how's that going?
It's good. We're all healed up. Clean as a baby's bottom, smooth as a baby's bottom.
There you go.
Yeah, we're all good.
So, breaking news today for you and I are both Georgia fans. Fromm is leaving. Did you hear that? He's headed to the draft. Yeah, he's declaring for the draft.
Oh my gosh.
What do you think? What do you think?
Wow, dude, that's a shocker. I really did not expect that. I mean, he's not ranked very high as far as the other quarterbacks going in front of him.
I think they have him like the 6th ranked quarterback, and then with Tua announcing, I thought he would back off, but
for sure, because that just bumps him down another slot.
Yeah, and so right now there's a bleak outlook for Georgia fans next year. We don't have a whole lot of people coming back.
I wonder what we got in the transfer portal. Hopefully we can get like a Jalen Hurts out there or something like that.
So Johnny, before we get going, we got an awesome episode today, man. I got to ask you one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who is your favorite MLB closer?
Oh, that's easy, dude. Kirby Yates for sure.
Kirby Yates? Why do you say that?
Kirby Yates. He's coming off one of his best years. He's all-star, all MLB first teamer, led the league in saves. You know, we play golf together. This dude swings a mean stick. I mean, seriously mean. +1, +2 handicap for this guy's legit. Okay.
So you guys play golf together, huh? Why can't we get this dude on the show?
Well, actually, we have him on the line right now. Kirby, welcome to the show, my man.
Thanks, guys. I'm glad to be here. Johnny, you're giving me some props on that +1, +2, buddy. I'm not that good.
Yeah, I've seen you do it. On a couple holes here and there. You're a +1 or +2 on a few holes here and there.
Yeah, I like that. That sounds a little bit more realistic.
So, Kirby, first off, man, congratulations on your an amazing season last year. Led the league in ERA and saves. How's that feel coming off that?
It's one of those things where the season ends and you kind of look up, you're like, wow, that was a pretty good year. And you kind of give yourself a pat on the back, and you enjoy it for a month or two. But like once you got to start working for next year, last year is over with. So,
yeah.
It doesn't really mean anything if I go out there and suck next year. I mean, it's cool. And I can always call myself an all-star now, but it's like, you still want to be good the next year and, a few years to come. So work never stops.
Especially
that's the hard part.
In the sport of baseball, where failure is so prevalent, and you can hit 300 and that's great, but you're still going to hit 350 or 400, or you could still throw a 1.18 ERA instead of a 1.19.
Right. The weird thing is, I think in our sport, it seems like everybody just kind of waits for guys to start sucking. Like
it's coming at some point.
Yeah. I mean, like, oh, this guy's been good for 5 years. Well, he's probably going to suck this year because he's been good for too long. It's like, I don't know. It's kind of like you'd think it's like backwards in a way. Like you'd be pumped that these guys are still playing good, but I don't know. It doesn't always kind of work out that way.
Sure. Want to jump back. Something that a lot of people, I didn't know until, kind of doing a little research, but you grew up in Hawaii. Not a lot of MLB players come from Hawaii. Your brother played baseball. He's from there. Shane Victorino. Outside of that, I can't really name any other
Kurt
players.
Suzuki.
Yeah.
Suzuki. Colton Wong's another guy.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Kiner Falefa in Texas. There's a lot more guys that are starting to kind of break that barrier now, which is cool because I think my brother was part of that. Obviously, Victorino and the career he had. kind of help open the door. Brandon League was another guy that pitched for a long time, and he's from Hawaii. So, there's a lot of guys that kind of open the door before me that, kind of let you know that it's possible to be from a little island and, make it to the big leagues and do things that you're not really accustomed to.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, that's one of the biggest things. And I think now where you look, you see a lot of, there's a lot of Hawaiians and stuff in the minor leagues and that are coming up. And I think that's really neat.
What was it like growing up playing baseball in Hawaii? I mean, you go to California, Georgia, Florida, there's tons of club ball, a bunch of these baseball academies. Is that what's out there in Hawaii? Are you guys doing the same stuff?
No. On Oahu, they have they have a lot more people. It's way more populated, so they get a lot more games in. But so I grew up on Kauai, which is one of the smaller islands. I think there's 75,000 people there, maybe.
Dang.
Now I could be wrong on that. I'm not sure. I gotta believe it's in that ballpark, but we basically, everybody played different sports growing up. You had your baseball season, you had your football season, you had your basketball season, but none of us ever played year-round baseball. We didn't know what that was. And I think honestly, if I played year-round baseball, I probably wouldn't have liked it enough, as
Sure.
much. I think that was, that was one of those things. It's like you play your season and then you're done with your season. You take some time off. You're like, all right, I'm kind of over baseball. And then like a month passed and you're like, I can't wait for next season. So
Yeah,
it's a lot different here. Like I'm from Atlanta, and both my boys play travel ball, and it's, damn near year round. It's weird that kids kind of specialize in one sport at such an early age now.
Yeah.
So Jai and I were the same way. We played whatever was in season. What else did you had those sports? I'm sure. Are you a surfer also?
Yeah, I was gonna say that I didn't really. I played like soccer and basketball growing up, but once I got to high school, I kind of only played baseball. But my dad's a beach bum. My whole family's kind of surf rats, so we were always going and getting in the water, and we were doing other stuff. And not that I wasn't ever really serious about baseball. I was really serious about baseball, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. But it's not like I wasn't out there playing baseball every day. I would go outside and play like little games with myself and throw a ball against the garage and drop a tennis ball and see how far I could hit it and stuff like that, being kids. But for the most part, it was once the baseball season was done, my dad was like, all right, let's get away. Let's go surf. Let's go, let's go do other things.
Was there ever a plan developed for baseball to take you somewhere, or did you ever want to just? You're living in Hawaii. Did you even want to leave out there?
I don't know. Like, I wanted to leave, but I didn't know what leaving really meant, if that makes sense. Because I didn't I always thought, yeah, I'll leave. I always thought it'd be easy.
Sure.
And I think going back to your question, baseball. My dad always stressed, you don't have to go pro for baseball to get you something, but you should have the opportunity to get a college education with your baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be first and foremost. I didn't necessarily have the grades to go along with that. That's kind of how I ended up at Yavapai. But it was it's just one of those things that I left, and when I got to college, I didn't realize that now you're kind of stuck there. It's not like I can just hop on a plane right away and get home.
Yeah.
You got to kind of wear it. And I really did get extremely homesick my first semester of college. And I think that's one of those things that, you don't really expect or get prepared for until you go there and do it.
Yeah.
So that first semester, you're being homesick. What kept you motivated or kept you focused? Because I'm sure that a lot of kids go through that just the first time leaving, especially you coming to the mainland.
Across the world.
Yeah. What kept you focused and grounded and on your goal?
Yeah. I think at that time my brother was in the big leagues, and he was starting kind of his big league career and getting into it and having some success. And I think for me, I wasn't exactly enjoying baseball at the time. You know what I mean? All I thought about was just going home and going back and being a Kawhi boy still. And it was weird just in the fact that I wasn't going to give up baseball because I knew what it could lead to, or what I was expecting it to lead to, because I was still pretty decent and I was still playing at a pretty high level at a junior college. And, during that fall, like, I was having a good fall on the mound, and it wasn't like I was just going to straight walk away from that. But on the other hand, like, I'm watching my brother in the big leagues and stuff like that. So there was that excitement about it. Like, all right, I can do it. If Tyler can do it, I can do it. And then on the other hand, you got, the wanting to go home and being homesick dragging you down a little bit. So it was just about finding that way to kind of grow up and mature a little bit. And, that took a little bit of time.
So Tyler, is he older?
Yeah, he's 10 years older.
Okay. So was he always big bro? You're trying to, always be on his level and compete with him at anything?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys got brothers, but like, if your brother goes and does something and tells you can't do it, you're just going to be like, yeah, whatever.
Fuck that. I'm going to do it twice
dude.
as good.
Yeah.
We'll see about that. So, but I mean, on top of that, Tyler is one of the big influences that puts me in a position that I'm in now. I mean, he's basically my own personal pitching coach for, 15 years of my life. When I was, I started throwing a ball, like, I could actually start throwing a ball at 12, 13 years old, where, he could start teaching me stuff. So, and with that, I mean, it's like, and another thing too, it's like, those guys weren't going to let me quit. My dad and my brothers, like, they weren't going to let me quit. They would call me names, tell me to toughen up, and, and like, basically, yeah,
sack up,
tough luck. Like, oh, well, you want to come here and come home and swing a hammer with your other brother? And it's like, no, I don't really want to do that. But it's like, well, that's your alternative, buddy. So it's like, it's
And was that
the grass isn't always greener?
Was that all the motivation that you needed, or was there something else that happened that, like, I got to get serious about this, I got to make this work?
Well, like, I always wanted to do it, and like, it was just always about getting the opportunity to do it. And unfortunately, when I was at Yale by my freshman year, I blew out and I had to have Tommy John. And I think in doing that was when I started growing up a little bit. And, that's when, I really kind of, it wasn't like, a lot of people were like, well, didn't you think you were done? It was like, my mind never kind of wandered to the fact that if I was ever going to play baseball again, it was never like, that was never an option. It was like, yeah, I'll be fine. Like, I'm going to come back from this. And like, to go back to Tyler and the big brother, like, I watched my brother blow out from Tommy John and he made it out. He made it back. I watched him blow out his shoulder and make it back. So it's like, it's one of those things. It's like a competitive rivalry. Like, Tyler made it back, and it's like, if I don't make it back, like, that's one of those things that I'll be hearing from the rest of my life, because that's the way my brothers are. They don't let me get away with anything, in a good way. I mean, it's motivating and it's pushing. Yeah. So it's just one of those things. Like, you take a punch and you roll with it, and you gotta grind, and you gotta get back to doing what you need to do.
We talk a lot on the show about overcoming, failures being preemptive, causes of your ultimate success. And not that blowing out your arm is a failure, but it's definitely a major hurdle. Yeah. Do you think you'd be where you're at now if that hadn't happened at that time?
Yeah, I think so. I think like, I don't think I probably would have blown out at some other point, honestly, in truthfulness. But I think I would have went on to have a really good freshman year and probably had a chance to sign earlier. Now, do I think I'd be in the same position? I don't know. It's hard to tell. Because if I would have signed professionally and probably went on and to pro ball after that year, I don't know if I was mature enough for that. I don't know if I don't know what, how I would have been able to live. And because, it's one thing to be in college, and it's another thing to be in pro ball at 19, 20 years old. And I mean, it's a job, they treat it like a job. And, I wouldn't have Smelter there telling me, hey, dumbass, don't do this, blah, blah, blah. And, to kind of help me through the way, you're fed to the wolves in pro ball. And it's, if you if you sink, you sink. If you swim, you swim. It's kind of one of those things. They don't really care that much about you. I mean, they do, but it's a business.
Sure. And everything happens for a reason. So
it's one of those things. It's kind of hard to tell. I mean, I think when I was going through Tommy John, I had to grow up a lot, and I think I did. I mean, in that year where I was hurt and I was trying to make it back, and it ended up taking me 2 years to get back just based on the college season and how it is. But that first year I got hurt, I felt like I really, really grew up. And I will say that once I got healthy enough to start throwing a baseball again and feel like I was going to play again, then the motivation did start kicking in, and you don't want to let that kind of knock you down and deter you from your dreams. You still got this dream that I'm going to go play Major League Baseball, and you want to accomplish it.
Right. So you go to JUCO, you got drafted. I looked it up, and it was, I think you were picked number 798. So not somebody took a shot on you. Who was that person? And obviously that person ended up being right. But how did that whole, getting drafted and just getting the shot? Because a lot of people don't even get that shot.
So I never got drafted out of Yavapai. I got drafted my senior year out of high school, right? And they could do the thing draft and follow. And I think that was the 26th round with the Red Sox. And they could do the draft and follow to where they could sign you, I think, up in like 2 weeks up until the next draft. Like they kind of keep your rights all year. And like I blew out. And once I blew out, I kind of called the scout and told him, hey, I'm having Tommy John surgery. And, we were talking a lot and he liked me. But once I told him that, it's like, I'm really sorry to hear that. And, I wish you the best of luck. But I never really heard from him again. And, I went on and I pitched. I missed 2 years and I came back and pitched again. And like I don't know what year it was, but it was a freshman, considered my freshman year at Yavapai. And I had an okay year and didn't get drafted, and was extremely bummed about it. And I went back to Yavapai again, and I had a decent year, but not really a great year by any means. And got passed up in the draft again, and that's one of those things where that is the point in my life where I even told my dad, I was like, this isn't going to happen. Like, we were, barbecuing a couple of steaks, sitting outside, drinking a couple of beers, I'm like, Dad, I don't know what I'm going to do now. Like, what do I do next? And I still had, it wasn't like I had no other options. Like I had a scholarship to go to Division II Mesa State, but I was going to be 22 years old playing Division II baseball. Like the baseball side of it and kind of taking it to the major leagues, that seemed to be done. And the story I got was that Sky got on the phone with people, and I asked him about this, and he never really, I don't think he's ever kind of said anything and acknowledged it. But from what I got from my scout is that Sky got on the phone and called basically a bunch of scouts and said, hey, one of you guys needs to sign this dude or else don't bother coming back to my program to watch anybody, which to me is 100% believable because I feel like you'd do that. And
that sounds awesome. Like something he would say for sure.
Exactly. And so Jason DeRocha is his name, and he was a scout for the Tampa Bay Rays at the time. And he called me, I think it was like 3 days after the draft. And he's like, hey, Kirby, this is Jason DeRocha with the Tampa Bay Rays. I heard you want to play professional baseball. And it's 7:00 in Hawaii time, 7:30 in the morning. I'm a college kid. Like, I'm not, you're not necessarily trying to wake up at 7:30 in the morning. So I'm a little groggy. And I'm like, wait, what'd you say your name was? And he's like, Jason DeRocha. I'm with Tampa Bay Rays. I'm like, okay, what's up? And he's like, I heard you want to play pro ball. I'm like, yeah, I do. And he's like, okay, well, I got a roster spot for you in rookie ball and $1,000 signing bonus. And I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, it's there if you want it. I'm like, all right, hold on. Like, can I call you back in like 5 minutes? And I hung up the phone. I'm like, Dad, some dude just called me and asked me if I wanted to play baseball. I'm like, I don't know if this is true.
Is this a prank call?
I don't know if this is true. I don't know what to do. And he's like, well, you should call your brother. So I call Tyler and I'm like, hey, some dude just offered me like $1,000 in a roster spot in rookie ball. He's like, what'd you say? I said, I was like, I told him I'd call him back. He's like, Kirby, you need to call him right now and tell him, yes, you accept it. And he might be on the phone with somebody else calling him. I'm like, oh shit, I better call this dude back. So I called him back and I was like, hey, Jason, I'll sign it, whatever you guys want. I don't care. Just don't give the spot to somebody else. And so, I mean, 2 days later, I flew out from Kauai. I flew all the way to Princeton, West Virginia, and that was when it kind of started the career.
Nice.
That's awesome. That was a good
Yeah.
story.
So, I mean, once you get to the pro level, you got the minors, you got so many different levels there. And, I mean, it's a journey to get to where you're at now. Walk us through your journey so far in the bigs, like what teams you play for, where'd you go, and just kind of experiencing that.
Yeah. Went through Tampa Bay system, started in 2009 was my first year, and then made my debut in 2014. Let's see. Yeah, 2014, and then pitched the rest of that year in the big leagues. And then 2015, I was still with Tampa, and I was going up and down, doing the carousel, AAA, back to the big leagues, back to the AAA. I had a terrible year. It was the worst year I'd had in pro ball so far, and they designated me. And then that offseason, Cleveland claimed me first, and I was with Cleveland for a month on paper. They signed Napoli, they had designated me again. So I was in Lingo again for about 10 days, and then the Yankees claimed me. And then in 2016, I made the opening day roster for the Yankees, got off to a pretty good start, threw the ball pretty well for 2 months, and then just kind of got tired and honestly just fell on my face for a month and kind of never recovered. And, I had a really bad month. Once I made it back to the big leagues, it was never really the same with them. I would throw the ball good at some point, and other times I would just suck. And it's just one of those learning curves that I kind of went through that kind of helped me, the rest of my career. And then in 2017, I think when I came into that season is when I was probably the most prepared I was to be a big leaguer, honestly. We'll backtrack to 2016. After the season, Yankees put me on waivers, I believe it was. And then Anaheim Angels claimed me and went to spring training with them. I didn't have a good spring at all. Made AAA. I went to AAA, got off to a pretty good start there in the first few weeks, I believe. And then ended up getting called up for a day. Pitched in a game, sucked. Got designated the next day, and then like 3 days later, the Padres claimed me, and I've been with the Padres ever since.
Wow. What was it like playing for the Yankees? That's one of the biggest names in the world as far as the world of sports. What was it like playing for them? And
it was awesome. At the time, I think I was a little overwhelmed by it. I don't think, I was living in the city. I was, I just think I was a little overwhelmed. I got tired, and I don't think I was physically or mentally ready for that in my career. And that's one of the biggest probably lessons I learned for myself. I mean, literally the next year, I kind of rededicated myself to everything, just because, after that year, I felt like, all right, I'm not going to have a whole lot of opportunity here if I suck again. So
now or never.
Yeah, kind of a deal. Like, I felt like I was on my way out, and I wasn't exactly trending in the right direction. Everybody wants to be trending in the right direction. I was not.
Yeah.
So I bought a house in Arizona. I moved from Kauai to Arizona, hired personal trainers, got with some buddies that were going to this workout place, and I followed in their footsteps. I went there, and, I did the program, and I felt like when I came back to spring training in 2017 that one, mentally, I felt like I was a lot stronger, and two, physically, I felt like I could handle a big league season.
So a lot of people, especially with professional athletes, they see the success and they just kind of, I don't think a lot of people realize the entire journey it takes to get to that level. And especially in a sport like baseball, we were talking earlier, where you fail more often than you succeed. You got to make, you were kind of shortchanged getting drafted. You bounced around teams and didn't really have a home until you got to San Diego. And then last year you just break out and have, a amazing all-star career year. What's it like going from, the grind to kind of being at the top of your game?
The weird, I think, like, everybody expects that when you all of a sudden, like, you're putting up numbers and you're doing good, like, the works, you stop doing the work, but like the work never stops. You know what I mean? You still are working as hard as you are when you're doing good and whether you're doing bad. I mean, for most people, like, I changed my routine a little bit, I think, within that, but like, by changing my routine, it almost made me work harder, just based on the fact, because it was something that I believed in and something that I knew I had to do to be successful. So when you start kind of trending in the right direction, start, progressing and doing better and having success and stuff like that, you almost come, like, that routine is like your heartbeat almost. And so like, the more success you have, to me, the more that routine matters and the more work you're going to do, if that makes sense.
What exactly, or just specifically, did you change in that routine that you felt contributed to your
Honestly,
success?
it was everything.
Yeah. I mean, working out, different groups of people.
Yeah, more like the working out part was the off season. I really got, like I said, rededicated. I was in the weight room more than I ever had been, and I've kept that for the last 3 years. But I think the in season part is like the preparation to go in and face hitters, and be prepared when I step on that mound, that understanding who I'm facing and understanding that I know how to get this guy out when he steps in the batter's box, because like every hitter that comes into the box knows exactly what you're going to throw them and knows they have a plan. So I think the one thing that changed my career is I started developing these plans going into at bats, and just basically tried to execute them, and it just became more of like a chess game instead of, I'm trying to overmatch this guy with stuff and blow it by him and do all this. Like, I finally actually felt like I was starting to pitch at the big league level and like kind of understand a concept of how to get these guys out. Because I mean, yeah, it's amazing. They fail so many times. And like if a guy hits like 260, 270 in the big leagues, he's a pretty damn good hitter. And there's a lot of those guys. And it's amazing how, they're like 260, 270 hitters, but if you throw a ball over the plate, they absolutely whack it hard. And I mean, so I started to just understand like where I can go to be safe, and kind of just develop these plans to get these guys out. And it just, it takes time to come up with those plans, and I think the preparation part of, my day is key.
Definitely.
So that's one thing. Another thing, I don't think people realize how much baseball is a mental sport. And you started to touch on it. What's the mentality like as a closer?
I don't know. I mean, like, for me, I just I enjoy the responsibility of having to go in and get 3 outs for my team to win the game. I like that pressure. I like that responsibility. So
do you have to like psych yourself up to get in there and do it? Are you like fired up, ready to go get these guys out, or what's your approach to the whole thing?
I don't so it's no different for me, like pitching the 7th or 8th inning in a lead or a 6th inning, honestly. I think other people get a little bit more pumped up for you because they play loud music and they do the whole deal and stuff like that. But like, I think the worst part, or the most like you're nervous, or your body starts going, is like probably in the 8th inning, like, waiting for the 8th inning to be done. So as soon as it's done, like, all right, it's your time. And that little gap between waiting for the phone to ring and knowing that you're going in, like, that's kind of when your heart starts pounding. But like once you start warming up and, getting in a rhythm and stuff like that, like, for me, I'm just focused on my job. Like, I'm just focused on who I'm going to face. Like, what am I going to throw this guy, and how am I going to get him out? Like, how am I going to punch his ticket? What am I going to do? So I think for me, I kind of try and just dummy it down a lot, and to say, like, all right, like, I'm facing this guy. This is what he's going to get. And I'm just solely focused on the pitch,
Very cool.
Do you have that game plan down? Like, so the phone rings in the pen, you're up, you're getting loose. You know who, if you're facing 3, 4, 5 and who they are. I mean, is it down to the pitch, or are you relying a lot on the catcher too to kind of help you with that game plan?
I know what I'm going to throw. I usually know going into every at bat what I'm going to throw this guy first pitch. And, it all starts with kind of like strike one. Like, if I get strike one, now I can go do this. And, now I can go, like, I can go get my, like, I have the advantage, so I can kind of dictate the at bat where I want to go. But like, if I go 1-0, like, I have to know where I can go. Like, I need to know my safe spot, whether it's I'm going to throw a split, I'm going to throw a fastball in a certain location. Like, I have to understand where I'm going to go, just so it can be, I can't just throw a meatball down a plate, because those are the kind of counts that,
right.
The hitter has in his favor, and that's when they can do their damage. So I think when you're behind, you have to understand where you can go to not necessarily get hit, but you still have to make good pitches.
You're almost like minimizing risk.
Yeah, exactly. So you're exactly right. Like, all right, what's he? And plus, too, when they're like 1-0, they kind of look for little zones, and they want to do some damage. So there's usually certain areas that you can go. Like, if you execute your pitch, they're probably not going to swing, and so you can get yourself back into the counts by, like, I always call it like stealing a strike. Well, where can I go to steal a strike?
Right.
So there's it turns into a massive chess game usually.
Right.
What's like your one pitch that, like, you got to get a strike here and you're going to throw it, or is it all based off the hitter too?
I think everything's kind of based off the hitter.
Yeah.
And in saying that, I never want to get away from my strengths. I don't ever want to do something. I don't ever want to do something that's going to kind of take me away from what I'm good at doing, just because I adjust to the hitter,
Sure. So couple episodes we had on Solomon Simmons. He's the top U.S. decathlete. Hopefully he'll be representing the U.S. in the Olympic Games this summer. But he was talking about data and how data just drives everything in track and field. And we know data is in baseball. It's everywhere. They're looking at everything. How's data affecting your game? Do you use it? You going back and looking at charts, looking at numbers, spin rates, all that stuff? What
I don't really get into it a whole lot. I mean, I know what it is and I know what it means. But I honestly, I'm a big feel guy. I need to, and like,
yeah,
I think people are getting way too carried away with it. Like, oh, the spin rate, he has high spin rate. Well, I've seen guys that have extremely high spin rate and they throw it over the plate and hitters absolutely waffle it. So if it's so effective and it's so great, I mean, like, obviously there's good to everything and there's bad to everything, but like, that's not what makes people good, is because they have really high spin rate. And it to me,
Sure.
It all boils down to executing pitches. Like, you have to execute pitches to certain spots to be successful. I mean, it's been like that for a long, long time now. So, if you have high spin rate and you have all the data stuff that, gets everybody crazy and everybody loves it, and you can execute pitches, now you're probably going to be a pretty good pitcher. But you still have to be able to throw the ball where you want, and kind of, you still have to command everything. You can't just
Yeah.
throw a million and have high spin rate and expect nobody to hit anything. So
Cool. Let's switch gears a little bit. We looked on your social media. It looked like you and your wife are pretty involved in raising awareness for epilepsy. You want to tell us a little more about that?
yeah, so we've partnered, with the Epilepsy Foundation of San Diego, because so I have a 2-year-old daughter and a 1-year-old son, and after my daughter was born, we found out, that she got pregnant pretty quickly. Vegas. But so we got pregnant with Cove, our son, and she was pregnant. I think she was about 5 or 6 months pregnant, and my wife had a seizure in her sleep, and it was one of those things that she's never had one. She's never, she's been a really healthy person her entire life, pretty much, and she started making these noises in her sleep and started doing some weird things, and I was trying to wake her up, and she came out of it kind of awkwardly and weirdly, and like kind of looked at me and had no clue that anything was going on. And
Dang.
it's one, so we went and saw some doctors after that, and they couldn't really do a whole lot because she was pregnant and you didn't want to do all the tests while you're there because it's kind of risky for the baby. So we had to wait till, she gave birth, and, everything went really well while she gave birth. We had a planned C-section, so it was very easy, and, everything was good. Baby was healthy and all that. But like a month after, or just about a month or two after we had Cove, she had another real big seizure. And this one was, a big one at an esthetician's office, and she ended up in the ER, ended up in the hospital. And, she basically got diagnosed with epilepsy, and kind of out of nowhere. And so this is one of those things that, kind of hits you in the face. And we've been fortunate enough to partner with an awesome foundation, and we've made some friends, and we've heard some other stories that have kind of helped, I think, both of us kind of just understand where we need to go and kind of how we treat this and what we need to do.
Very cool.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Where can so what was the name of the
It's
foundation?
the Epilepsy
again?
Foundation of San Diego.
Okay, got it.
So we've hosted. We actually, in September, we hosted an event. It was like Comedy for a Cause, and we helped raise some money for them. And we got invited out for another event. It was like they have a gingerbread gala in the beginning of December, and me and Ashley were the honorary guests, and it's cool. It's
That's
neat.
cool.
It's an awesome partnership, and my wife is the front runner on this. She kind of heads all of it, and is super involved and is proud to be involved, and I just kind of sit back and do what I can, but I'm there to support her, and but it's been really neat with the relationships we've made.
That's awesome.
Nice. All right, Kirby. It is time for kind of one of our favorite parts of the show, is the Gauntlet, which Johnny mentioned earlier. It's 60 seconds, random questions. We alternate. If your answers don't line up with our opinions, they're wrong. If they do, then we'll give you a ding, and they're right. But it is totally up to us.
Perfect.
So let me get my questions and the clock. No, I don't have them. We'll go back.
We'll add them later. Okay. So you won't know if you're right or wrong.
All right.
Ever.
Well.
Yeah.
You're 173 yards out, slight wind in the face. What club are we hitting?
How much wind?
Just a gentle Arizona breeze.
7-iron.
Okay.
Who would be your first pick of your own all-star team?
Mike Trout.
When you go dancing, do you do the Dougie or the electric slide?
Dougie.
If you could travel to any place or time period in the past, when and where?
Rome, medieval ages.
Favorite surf spot?
Kawhi, secret. I can't tell you.
The Sandlot, Little Big League, or Rookie of the Year?
Dude, I love Little Big League.
You eating a full salad or a side salad with your meal?
Full.
All right, that's 60 seconds.
Oh, I got one more. Do you like guacamole?
If it's homemade.
Did we just become best friends?
Forgot to ask you.
Karate in the garage.
Yeah, let's go.
The well-known signature right there on the blade.
Randy Jackson.
So
All
All
right.
right, Kirby.
So I guess I did good. Did I do good?
Go ahead, man.
Oh man, that was great.
Johnny, what are you
Yeah,
what are you hitting? 173 yards slight wind in your face.
in Arizona? Yeah, it depends. It's a 7 or an 8.
I was gonna say you're probably hitting a 9-iron.
In up here in Denver for sure.
Because of the air?
Yeah, dude, you can crush. I hit the ball like Tiger Woods up here. It's awesome.
Kirby, before we let you go, man, where can obviously we're gonna track you next season. I'll root for you every game except for when you come into Atlanta and play the Braves. Where can people follow you on social media?
I'm on Instagram at Curbs Quad. I think do I have 39? I'm not sure. Let's see. It's Curbs Quad. Just KIRBS Kauai KAUAI. And on Twitter, I think I have the same. I have 39.
It's actually Kauai Kirby.
Yeah,
at 39
Kauai Kirby
on Twitter.
39. So close but different.
Yeah.
So
All right.
Awesome. Well, cool.
right on,
That's
on,
it.
guys. Well, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Should we play that music? Let's do it.
That's pretty good.
We'll get there.